Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Today's episode marks the start of something really exciting because it is the first in a run of conversations I'm going to have across the year, exploring even further this really incredible growing thing called UK Firefighter Challenge Series. This is a growing circuit of events that sits right at the intersection of fitness, professionalism, community engagement, and fire service culture here in the UK. Today's episode, I'm joined by Ben Le-Fevre and Dan Watson from the Northeast Firefighter Challenge, and we're going to use their event and the wider challenge circuit as a way to dig into what fitness actually looks like in practice, not just on paper, here in the UK Fire and Rescue Service in 2026. So before we get into our conversation, it's worth setting the scene, and the British Firefighter Challenge is a national series, the Challenge Series circuit, that's made up of 13 events across the UK and beyond. So running from April through to September, each event brings its own flavour, its own challenge, its own community, and its own demands. But together they form a circuit that's helping to raise standards, build connection, and show a real shift in how we're thinking about fitness in the UK Fire Service. The 2026 series begins with the Blue Light Stair Run on the 4th of April in Manchester, followed by the Sheffield Festival of Fire Sport UK on the 22nd of April in Sheffield. From there, it moves to the Northeast Firefighter Challenge in Middlesbrough, before heading south for the Southwest Challenge on the 23rd of May in Gloucester. On from there, we're going to go to the Welsh Challenge, which takes place on the 6th of June in Swansea, followed by the South Coast Challenge on the 20th of June in Portsmouth. From there, we go to the Northants Challenge, and that comes next on the 27th of June in Northampton, before the Southampton Stair Climb as part of the 9/11 Challenge, and that is on the 11th of July in Southampton. At the centre of this entire season sits the British Firefighter Challenge, the absolute crown jewel event. That's going to be held on the 25th and 26th of July. It's always the last weekend in July. And that's going to be held at Moreton-in-Marsh. After that, the series continues. And the Cheshire Fire Challenge is next on the 29th of August in Cheshire. Early September brings a really incredible new edition. It's the international event that I'm personally involved in as well as hosting a bunch of these and competing in all of them. This is the 9/11 Memorial Stair Climb. This is going to see 343 firefighters travel to Atlanta, Georgia to honour the fallen and represent the fire service from a UK perspective on a global stage. The season then returns back to UK soil with the East Midlands Challenge on the 12th of September in Nottingham, before closing out a brand new Scottish Challenge on the 26th of September in Edinburgh. So that is the landscape that this episode sits within. It's gotten big, hasn't it? In this conversation with Ben and Dan, we're going to talk about how challenges like these fit into the wider picture of firefighter fitness across the UK. We get into why community-based events such as Siren Fest matter, how fitness challenges can act as engagement tools rather than just exclusionary competitions, and why raising standards is all about culture, not enforcement. We're also going to discuss some sponsorship and some corporate support that they've got and how they've navigated those spaces without losing any credibility, and why education around health, nutrition, and longevity in the job needs to sit alongside our performance. This is an honest conversation about inclusivity, motivation, teamwork, and what it actually takes to build something that lasts in the fire service. It's not just about this one event. It's about setting the tone for this entire series and exploring what firefighter fitness can become when it's built around purpose, community, and professionalism, rather than a minimum standard. I'll see you on the other side. When was the first time you got involved in these challenges, Dan? Because for most people, they went, saw a thing, did a thing, got that bug, but you kind of stumbled into this accidentally, and then the whole thing kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, so just by chance, the brigade had paid for a couple of entries. I'd never heard of it. One of the lads hurt his ankle. Another lad, Liam Oregon, came to me, said, "Do you fancy giving this a go, mate? Brigade will give you the weekend off." And I was like,
sold.
Yeah. So turned up, didn't have a clue what it was about or anything, just knew it was going to be a bit of hard fizz. Turned up in the canteen and saw this monster of a man, yourself, and I was thinking, oh, what's going on here?
What year was this? What was your first year?
21, Moreton-in-Marsh.
That was a great one.
So
Oh,
good
yeah,
one
that was
to
a
kick off.
banging one.
Yeah, really good. Nice intro. Complete the
ages
course. I never won anything, but it was a nice introduction, and just from that point, basically got the bug from there.
So when you were looking round at the event in Moreton, it is so strange because when you get stuck in your own echo chambers so much, like whenever I go to NBAC or I go to the challenge circuits or I go to AFSA and you're like, oh, this is great. Or like Women in the Fire, so everybody knows about this. And you're like, so many people don't know about these weird little pockets within the UK Fire and Rescue Service where some incredible stuff is happening. I mean, Ben, you've probably done like the Firefit stuff time and time again, and people just don't even know these things exist. I think it's because we're going through a massive amount of retirement, aren't we? And we're getting so many new people in the sector. We can't make assumptions that people know what these things are all about. So when you went to the first one, Dan, what was kind of your takeaways from it? Because there's a massive cognitive leap between I went and did a thing and let's do another version of it ourselves and keep sort of rising this movement.
I think from the first one, it was a bit of a wake-up call that I'd previously done competition in other sports. Then I'd had children and sort of walked away from that. Thought that I was fit, always stayed in the gym and would pass a fitness test, no problem.
Yeah.
Could
Was
always
the dad bod in full
sit
effect
down.
by this point? How old were you?
Yeah, so late 30s. But yeah, thinking I can still get up the 16th floor of a high rise and do my job, and that's great. But when you turn up to an event which is full of like-minded people, firefighters who are all super fit, I'm thinking maybe I'm not that fit.
You probably
I
were
was
too fat.
a bit fat.
That was me,
You're
not him.
definitely fat enough now.
Yeah, but it was a little bit of a wake-up call, and I thought, the fitness standard, we have it here to get in the job. I've always kept a decent fitness standard, but these challenges just push you to go that bit further. And then you come back to station, you speak to people and you think, we should be doing more really. Not just for our fitness tests this next 6 months, next year, but I've got to work till I'm 60. Can I attain that pensionable age? We all want to work to earn money and get our pension, but am I going to get to 50-odd-year-old and let my fitness slide and then think, have I done enough? Because it's down to me.
Yeah.
It's up to the employer to help me, but it's also down to me. And this challenge would really help me with that. It's given me training goals, inspiration, and sort of motivation to get involved.
MSA are supporting us on today's podcast, and I chose to partner with them because I've been wearing this stuff for nearly 20 years, and they are the global leader in development, manufacture, and supply of incredible, safe products that really protect people, not just our communities out there, but also first responders, most importantly, all over the world. Get yourself over to MSA and have a look at it. The high-performance protective clothing for emergency services responders. They also partner with us on the UK Pink Firefighters. That's because we love them. The helmets with the reflective visor, the F1XF, absolutely epic helmet. And not forgetting how they improve firefighter safety through their connectivity in the connected firefighter platform. MSA are always pushing the envelope, and it's a real privilege to be able to continue to grow our partnership together. So whether it's your PPE, your bunker gear, your helmets, your SCBA, your thermal imaging, your Luna, or your portable gas detection, both of us know that this equipment needs to work. It needs to be high quality, reliable, and dependable in the moment. And that's why I use MSA, because they know what's at stake. So Ben, us sort of steelman's, excuse me, help me steelman this idea and this, because the conversation, obviously, me and Dan are moving into the romanticism of, we've got to keep on our fitness, and, the job doesn't care how fit you are, the fire doesn't know how fit you are, you can't be fit enough for a job that can kill you. All of this stuff, which is very romantic in the world that we both probably live in. However, in his own words, Dan was passing the fitness tests in his service. He's more than fit enough to do the job as per the standards of the organisation and the UK Fire and Rescue Service and Firefit and all that jazz. What's your first thoughts about this when you came across it? Because it is balancing that, and I always try and pendulum between this, like trying to encourage people to be fitter, healthier, longevity in the job, but also we don't want to be seen, we're not trying to beat anybody over the head for being able to achieve the standard in their service, because that is what is expected of them. That is the that's the calibration that's been scientifically data-driven firefit mindset. What would you think when you were coming across this, and you obviously decided it was net positive, but there are two sides to this coin?
What the challenge?
Yeah, well, just the ethos of the challenge sector and what it maybe stands for in different people's minds.
No, I think it's brilliant because for me coming, and obviously I'm not an operational firefighter, I'm kind of coming from the fitness perspective. And I think what we're aware is that as we become an aging workforce, there is, a greater need to look at maintaining the standard, which may be comfortabler as you're younger, but as you get older. And I think what the British Firefighter Challenge showed, and obviously now moving on to the series, is that it's encouraging people over different age categories to maintain that level and standard as you go through. So for me, it was a good way to look at firefighter specific fitness. We'll be aware there's lots of different components to fitness, and you can be fit for different things. Generally, when someone says they want to be fit, the first question should be, what do you want to be fit for?
What's the metric? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very important question because it'll massively change your answer. So when, as I think Dan said, Liam kind of introduced me to the Firefighter Challenge, he'd been doing it for a while off his own back. I thought, what a fantastic opportunity to really encourage and motivate people to be able to maintain fitness specific for firefighting, because some people are internally motivated, aren't they? They can motivate themselves to do the training, but others do need that external bit of motivation as well. So I think if we can do that in a positive way of kind of going, let's get involved in this challenge, let's do it as a team, bring that camaraderie, there's really good way to develop that. So that's kind of was my approach into it. And then obviously once I'd experienced it, the same one there, yeah, it was amazing. What a wonderful feeling.
It is important to understand what fuels people, isn't it? I think most of my motivation is self-hatred, shame, and probably caffeine most of the time. And that is not productive long term. It can be a toxic fuel. But whilst the number one metric is perceived by people is around firefighter fitness, these events for me stand in a much larger footprint of health and well-being in general. Of a great demonstration of how many people can come and achieve the job and push themselves. It gives a great ability for families to get involved, to come and celebrate their individuals, the sons, the daughters, the brothers, the sisters, the kids, seeing them do the thing. Because, it's very frowned upon to be taking videos and photos when you're at an incident ground. So there's very few opportunities other than you pass out for your families to come and stand there and show how proud they are of you. But what I think is really impressive about, what the Northeast is trying to achieve, and also, the whole sort of Siren Fest analogy and the demonstrations that you've done in the last year or two, is how you've been very intentional about trying to throw the net wider in the things that you're bringing to this event. We'll go into the BFC and the challenge series, and we'll talk about the uniqueness of the Northeast, because it does offer different challenges, as all the different challenges around the UK do. But I'd love for us to start, if you would, Dan, about what else has been intentionally brought to the floor with the way you guys are doing this challenge.
So for the Northeast, I think the idea originally sort of came about of us starting a regional was I was coming back to station doing the BFC, speaking to people, you should get involved, it's brilliant, blah, blah, blah. And the problem that you've got with a lot of people is they don't like being exposed. The BFCs, YouTube, any mess up that you do, which I've made a few, they're on YouTube forever. So they're very good.
So
your mates on station to rewind them, and just before you start shift, to play that just before you shift it. Thank you very much, Tom, who's done that very many times for me. But with the regionals, you're starting something where you're not as exposed. It's a smaller, more intimate event. It's giving people a chance. Maybe people don't have the chance to go and give a full weekend, to go and travel halfway down the country. It's your local service. It's close to you. Are you going to give a day, maybe do a bit of volunteering as well, enjoy the day, just test the water with it. That's what we were thinking to start with. And I think for our first one, we pulled it off really well, to be honest.
I think it was an incredible first one. Absolutely. I saw the photos and the videos of it and spoke to a load of the athletes. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the first one. But Ben, unfold a little bit more for me the outside edges of the things that were happening in and around that event. Because when I look at what was achieved, both, the money that was raised, the sort of health screening and the testing and those elements that were done around it, where did that element of this thought go for? Because it's hard enough to run a challenge, to then try and throw all this extra stuff into the mix. Seems like quite an ambitious thing for a first out.
I mean, we were quite lucky, as in we had really good backing from our brigade, but also from Sirens Fest, which is an event run by kind of two charities, which we can about later on. But so we were kind of part of a bigger event. So there's an event that runs in the Northeast, which looks at really getting the public's information up on things like first aid, CPAD training, all those different things. So all the different services get together, emergency response services, to help educate the public as well. So we kind of wanted to be part of that, and we were invited into that system as well, which was really nice. So for us, that made a massive difference, not only to those who were going to the event, but also the spectators coming as well, that they could get more from it than just kind of coming and watching the event, which is great, but also to experience these other things as well. But for us, that was a really big part of it, trying to make it a little bit more people benefiting from different things when they were coming.
How did you manage to get the backing from the service, Dan? Because money is hard to come by in the UK Fire and Rescue Service now. Everything's getting pinched and squeezed, frontline, green book. What was the what's in it for me pitch that kind of went back to the service? Because a couple of different of the challenges do and don't have service backing for a variety of reasons, but yours has obviously got some good buy-in from the SLT.
So, talking about sort of putting yourself out there, in years gone by with our service, you wouldn't find a firefighter crew manager going up to headquarters and pitching to LT over things. There was different culture previous in this brigade. Things have massively turned around. People on the shop floor are encouraged to be putting their ideas forward, and there's just been a massive culture change, and it's been very, very positive. Siren Fest was something that we piggybacked on, so we were really lucky with that. But we had the idea for the Northeast Firefighter Challenge, and we pitched it previously, but with financial constraints and stuff, it wasn't at that point. We got you an exec leadership team that came in. I went in and pitched the idea with funds that we were hoping to get. And they were just massively supportive. They've seen all the positives of community engagement, firefighter health and wellbeing. And I also added into our proposal that we'd like to create a youth challenge to incorporate young sort of football teams or the sports teams to come and give a version of the Northeast Firefighter Challenge a go, to be able to sort of interact with youth. Basically, that was a thing. I think that was one of the big selling factors to the brigade, that we could use it as a community engagement tool and a health and wellbeing tool for the workforce.
How do you drive yourself to do the ask again? I know it sounds like a stupid thing, and this might be going a bit too much into the niche, but I think so many ideas die in the minds of people that get a no right now. Usually it means a no right now. It means not forever. It's usually a timing issue, not like a final decision. But how many times do we hear in the sector, "Oh no, we've tried that before." Dave went up and he asked this or he asked that, or Sarah tried to do that on Red Watch, wherever. And they shouldered it off, But to go back and ask again after already getting a no, as silly as that might sound, and I'm sure there's no glorious grand answer to it, but most people just become disheartened. You say there's been some sort of culture shift. How do you quantify there actually being a culture shift? Because if you've got a miracle pill over there, then I'm sure the rest of the UK Fire and Rescue Service will probably buy it off you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the perfect world still, and people will want to go and pitch like I've pitched, and they'll get a no for various reasons. But I think if you pitch them for the right reasons, knowing that it's role specific, it ticks a lot of the boxes to do with the brigade wanting to engage with the community on a positive aspect, looking at youth engagement, all the things. You've just got to write yourself a list down, try and tick as many boxes as you can do with the service. Don't expect them to go, here's a blank checkbook, do whatever you want, but be realistic and just be persistent. We could have an endless shopping list for our challenge for this year. We know we're not going to get it, but it's be smart and just build those relationships.
I think it's being aware as well of what's going on in the brigade at that time. The needs of the brigade is in the priorities. Obviously, if you're in a position where you've had one of your pumps go off the run, that's a high priority. So sometimes it's just being aware of what's happening in the brigade at that time. And you might just find, as Dan was saying, the first time you'll go in and there'll be multiple other departments requesting money as well. It's just maybe looking at the time where you can go, right, actually, at the moment, there's a small lull. There's never a big lull, but there's a small lull that gives us that opportunity to look at the things which we know will have long-term benefits, but may not be seen as a priority at that moment. And I think that's where maybe going in multiple times. And all I'd say to anyone else who's thinking about it is that you just want a seat at the table.
Firefighters, police officers and first responders are now stepping into environments wired with more high voltage than ever before. Everything from electric vehicles to solar panels feeding direct current through compromised structures, overhead power lines and illicit drugs factories with improvised lethal bypasses. Any single strike in the wrong place in this type of environment can turn things fatal very quickly, and that is exactly why we've partnered with Jafco. You already know who Jafco are. They have been relied upon for decades for sturdy, get-the-job-done equipment, and they are not resting on their laurels. They are evolving to face the challenges first responders are handling today through their insulated tool range. These are purpose-built for the scenarios where contact with hidden electrical hazards isn't just possible, it is increasingly likely. Their insulated tools are engineered for real-world abuse and use, designed to keep firefighters, police officers, and all first responders alive in environments where electrification is outpacing policy, equipment, and training. And you know this. This is the kind of innovation our sector needs and the kind of investment organizations should be stepping up to support if we are serious about protecting first responders from fatal consequences. So a massive thank you to Jafco for backing the podcast and backing the crews on the ground. Go check them out, learn what they're doing, and bring that conversation into your service, because this isn't about the future, it's about right now.
So it's worth going in, getting involved so you're aware of what's happening, and then at least there's a voice. If there isn't a voice up there talking about these things, then it's never going to get moved forwards.
There is a skill set to navigating corporate spaces, isn't there, with the greatest of results. And I say that, yeah, but most corporate organizations aren't just looking for random charity cases. They're looking for alignment, they're looking for credibility, reach. Firefighters already bring two of those, but it's sort of knowing there's a difference between asking for freebies and building something that is mutually useful for you and the organization. And it sounds like you're getting into buzzword bingo corporate speak, but they're not as hostile as people probably think they are. They just speak a different language, and learning it it's not making you a sellout. It's just translating the value that you're trying to add to the space and putting it into a language that's beneficial for them as well. But that's an art form I'm constantly trying to develop, versus just running in with my Labrador energy and then going, "What do you mean no? What? Oh, yeah, no one wants to do anything. All the values right on the wall." And it's like, yeah, okay, you go back to station, behave yourself.
I think it helps that we've got a Ben. Every challenge leads a Ben.
Yeah.
He is working up in headquarters. He's already got all the relationships. So that made things a hell of a lot easier. He's got that sort of like that communication between ELT before we'd even started. So that really helps.
Plus, it brings another layer of credibility from your expertise as the recognized fitness advisor in that organization. You have that credibility. You can bring that intellectual backing behind it, show how it aligns to everything that we're trying to encourage. I think sometimes that gets missed when really, really like-minded, enthusiastic, good values firefighters are sitting around a watch table just trying to stick a wish list together. Do you know what I mean?
No, I think you're right. I think that's what one of the things is, that from my experience, generally, the leadership team, especially in Cleveland County, the want to support these things, but it's the how and what they're getting out from it that needs to be explained. At the end of the day, we need to use effective use of funds, don't we? So we've kind of got to support them in supporting us, really, of kind of going, this is what we want to do. They'll understand the benefits and then going, but this is how we can actually do it. And that's what I would say. I think having someone at the table is really helpful. Encourage people, get involved in your kind of your health and well-being groups, etc., because it'll give you a voice at that table to see how you can support that.
So, echoing on from what we were talking about earlier with yourself, Dan, but from your lens, Ben, like how does the Northeast Firefighter Challenge and also the wider picture of Firefighter Challenge across the UK fit into that more holistic view of firefighter fitness, not just as competitions, but as job-related fitness? So do the challenges aid in raising the standards, or do they just attract the already fit people? Do they have a massive influence or any influence on firefit and the general movement? Is it changing conversations around people being fit for role, do you think?
Yeah, you're seeing the trends changing on station of people will be like, I wouldn't dare do that. You're doing that for the brigade. It's, that kind of attitude to people's perceptions changing, and I might give it a go another year. I might do this. I might do that. But as in, is it relatable to job role fitness? Absolutely. The way that we designed our course was we wanted it to tell a story to the public who was watching the races, but also be like really sort of how would I put it, relatable to our role. So we designed the course as kind of a setup to a job. So it was roll up to a house fire, what's the things that we would need to do. So we turn up, we get a length of 70, we run out, there's our covering jet, right? What else do? We run up, we grab our hose reel jet, we'll drag that out. That's, we're going to go in and search with that. We'll drag some more hose reel off, all things that we do at a house fire. And so we just basically designed the course around telling the spectators, this is why we do this. This is the level of fitness you can see you need to be able to carry out that sort of role, and do it as quick as possible manner as you can do, because you've got someone stuck in that building. And if you're going to walk that, if you're going to be gassing out after half of the course, is that good enough for the public? I know myself personally, if I can't carry out that kind of role, should I be doing that job? Me personally, I'm thinking my own family's stuck in a house. Do I want to do that as quickly as possible, or am I just going to have that standard where I just
Mhm.
markers? So that personally for me, that's how I want it set up, and that's my mindset. Well, I know not everyone has the same fitness standards and levels. If you can complete a course within the 6 minutes, which all the challenges are, I think that's more than good enough fitness standard for a firefighter's role.
I want to slowly dig through each element of the challenge so we can give a full sort of rundown debrief of people that don't know anything about it. But I do just want to dig a bit deeper with yourself, Ben, on, are these challenges having that effect on sort of quietly doing what policies perhaps struggle to do? Because I feel like these encourage people to be fitter rather than telling them to be fitter. Fitness standards live in policy and keep people safe, but like a fitness culture keeps people ready and keeps people in the job for longer. And I feel like challenges live more in that cultural space. And I suppose my optimism is that they are feeding into policy. But from what you're allowed to speak about, what's the discussion inside the rooms of these firefight conferences, whether it be regionally, nationally?
Well, I think from there is we kind of know the standards. If we talk about the standards, as you said, they're set. Generally looking at cardiac risk, etc. We know where the standards are the minimum standards. I'm quite happy to say the minimum standards that are needed to perform the role safely. But they're also the minimum standards purely looking at risk of heart attack. They're not maybe looking at the functional and the strength perspectives of the job when we're looking at that VO2 figure. So I think what you find is with something like the firefighter challenges that are now kind of going on, the British Firefighter Challenge, is it's encouraging people to look at maybe a broader aspect of health and fitness when it comes to the firefighter role. We know that musculoskeletals are an issue. Obviously, our cardiovascular in itself is not really going to tell us how someone's going to deal with that. So I think for me that when we're looking at these competitions, it's really encouraging people to look at that wider spectrum than just fixated on a figure that a lot of people may not know what it is.
Yeah.
Of going from there. But I think as you're right, is that policies are there and they're there for a good reason, in my view, to maintain that. But really, we want to encourage people to go beyond it. And probably a policy isn't going to motivate them to do that. In understanding, so there needs to be an education. Absolutely. I feel education needs to be improved so people understand why those are so important. But then also that external motivation. And I think that's what we're getting from these challenges is an increase. What we've tried to do recently, or Dan brought it in, was start to use the course with new recruits. So on day one, we're going, okay, this is the minimum standard. You've proved the minimum standard, but actually now, how are you doing in this environment?
How does that translate to what you're going to actually be doing?
Yeah. And so that can be a better meter for them, because then they can kind of hopefully get involved in the competitions or have that better understanding of the difference between what we're setting in policy for a minimum standard to make sure they're safe, to actually what's going to make you more effective in your role. What levels do you need to be at to do that?
So do they get a chance to do this in their introduction, like in their on-call or retained whole time?
Yeah, it's
first
Dan's
week?
idea. Yeah, and we literally just started it. Obviously, we just started up last year. And it's great because we're looking at this, aren't we? How do you get many benefits from doing the same thing? So not only are they getting a better idea of the expectations really for doing the role, but we're also hopefully getting more in people interested straight away to participate in the events, to help with the events. So it was a cracking idea. Yeah,
It definitely was.
Must be a banging start to their introduction, Dan, because like most times, a lot of whole time introductions that I've observed or around when I was in the training department, the first week it can be very heavy on presentations and HR and finance and everyone else and GDPR and EDI. Everyone wants to come in and spend half a day with all of them. And I've been there, on the breaks with the recruits. They're going, any chance we can put a kit on at some point and go and do something? Because this is not really what I joined the fire service for. And I get all the policies are important. Don't do this. Don't say the bad words. Be nice to each other. Don't steal things. All of that sort of stuff is important. And we hope they get it already. But they want to do this stuff, don't they? Do you know what I mean? I feel like it gives them, because it's going to be months before they get on station. Yeah, it might be 4 or 5 months for some of them. So how did you manage to crowbar it into what is probably already a pretty rigid timetable for the first week up? So what do they do in your service? Give us you might get it wrong and it's okay, but like, what's the rough, are you doing in-house training? Do they go to the college?
Yeah, it's usually roughly around a 16-week training course. So
16 weeks?
Usually around about that.
Wicked.
Sometimes it'll be a 12-week or 14-week. It just depends on what timetables training school are able to sort of put on, basically.
Quick pause, because I want to tell you about a new partnership we have with First Tactical. First Tactical builds equipment for people who work when environments are seriously unforgiving. And if you go to their website, you'll find kits designed specifically for us, for firefighters, for police officers, technical rescue teams, fire investigation, hazmat, hazardous materials teams, urban search and rescue. This is honestly the equipment that you really want to rely on. It's built for real operations, real pressure, long ass days, and I genuinely use this stuff. Here's a few of my favorites. They've got their men's Defender short sleeve. I've got that in black. It's got a huge load of specialized pockets, space for all of our gears, the pads, the pens, all of the stuff. It's got them on the sleeves on both sides. Also got the Defender pants. These have got 28 pockets in total on them. It's mad. Let's be honest, we absolutely love the bags. I use their 25-litre specialist half-day backpack. The shoulder straps as well are strong AF. Like I say, this isn't lifestyle gear. gear is built for real world, real operations. We talk about the realities of the job, and First Tactical is just the ideal partnership for us. So go take a look, firsttactical.co.uk. Now back to the show.
But I just had the idea of thinking, go to training school, ask them whether they can fit us a bit of their timetable in towards the end of the course for anything, to see new recruits when they first join. Fitness level, is it there? They do PT every day. Is it going to be there by the end of the course? If it's improved, brilliant. Then throw them in at the deep end. Here's the challenges. This is the highest standard, but this will help you be in that standard, get your pensionable age. And that's always my idea.
Do they do guided PT every day, or is it?
It is guided PT every morning.
Is it? Wow. What do we get them to do, Ben?
So I get them there from 8:30 till 9:30 for an hour most mornings. So a mixture that what we're generally looking at is trying to create a habit. So it's not about beasting them. To be honest, you get those who come in who are phenomenally fit, and those who've worked hard to get to that level, and massive credit to them. And what we're trying to do is educate them over that 16 weeks on what we think they need to do to stay in the job, hopefully for as long as they want to. So we're trying to create those habits as we go through. So we mainly do a mixture of HIIT cardiovascular training, our strength training, generally on the half racks, try to do some Olympic big biomechanical movements with there. Because we know they're the ones that the needs are there. And then a little bit of enduro training, so a bit of your 1.5 mile runs, that type of thing as you go through. But again, focus a little bit more in intensity. So we generally have kind of a cycle of 3 different routines that we do and mix them up within that.
That is banging.
Yeah.
I think that's very rare. I didn't know that about your service. I think that is very rare, and I think we should all be doing that. And I think there are people in certain positions, my words, not yours, that discourage it because they plaster things on it about, toxic cultures and bee stings, and they insert these words that may exist at the worst end of that spectrum, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Do you know what I mean? There's an in-between here. You can be strong, fit, and still be positive, professional, honest, empathetic, compassionate. All of these things can live in the same human being. You can still have self-discipline and high standards and be a positive role model.
Yeah, we also have to accept that we want to support people to maintain the fitness. So if we were only kind of ever encouraging them to get to that minimum 42.3, well, we kind of know that there's going to be a natural decline between if you're joining at 25, 30 and you're going to be in the job till you're 60. So we need to be encouraging people to kind of go, actually, where is it you need to be to get to where you want to get to? If that's your goal, you might only want to join for 10 years. But if that's your goal, can we encourage you to be where you need to be at the start of your career to allow for that and educate them that way? Because I think by not doing that, you're not really supporting them to get to where they want to be. We don't want to set people up for failure as we go through. So
I think there's also a massive unconscious bias / unseen privilege that comes with, oh, well, we give them an hour's PT on station, they can do whatever they like for an hour. We provide them with a gym. What else do you want me to do? And I'm like, you are coming from an assumption of someone that has always done physical fitness since you were probably a kid. Yep. Your mum, your dad did something with you. Maybe you're a low-level athlete, school team, whatever, and you've been in the gym and you've done it for so long. I am a single mum, was a teacher for 5 years. Now I've been out of work for 3 years. Someone encouraged me to join the fire service, and you just go, there's a gym, off you go. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. And you go, yeah, but if you need some help, you can ask. Having to ask is really embarrassing for some people. Yeah, for me to go, oh, just give Ben a ring. Why is Ben on station today? Oh, he's coming to help out Stacey because she doesn't really know what she's doing in the gym, does she? Don't do that. Yeah, that's not cool. Yeah, so don't make those assumptions of people. It's for me, it falls into the management, health and safety at work. Do you know what I mean? It's like, give you the tools to do the job that we're asking you to do. Don't just go, I'm going to come and see you again next year. Make sure you stay in shape before then, yeah? Not everyone knows how to manage their own fitness. Why do you think the bloody online PT world is so chaotic these days? Because people want help. You know?
No, 100%. And like you're saying, I think the same with the challenges that is that people respond to people. That's why culturally something like that is great. But that's the same is that if you're gonna want to help someone, is that you kind of the need to know, to nick a phrase, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And that's
Absolutely, mate.
really what it is. You can know everything in the world if you're not showing that person that you're interested in them as an individual. And that's the important thing. So for me, yeah, why it's so important that we encourage people to understand what's going to happen throughout their career, but also so they're not thinking that's them.
Yeah.
They're getting older and they're starting to struggle and they're going, oh, this is just me.
Yeah. This is
You
just
kind of go,
me.
well,
I'm
actually, no, it's
rubbish.
the
I was
next
never
best
meant to be a
day.
firefighter. I'm an imposter. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And that's not true. And also, I think about the amount of team building that must embed as well when you're doing that with your recruits every day. They're cheering each other on. I remember the first time Dan managed to deadlift 40 kilos. It was such a huge moment for you, wasn't it, Dan? You know what I mean? The first time, it was only last
My
year.
lunchbox, yeah.
It was huge, and we all celebrated you for it now. But you know what I'm saying? Encouraging each other and seeing those wins, in a really close, safe, psychologically safe environment. You're a team of recruits. I always talk about like salty friends. When you've sweated, when you've worked hard with someone, this really builds a bond, and you see people build their confidence so that when they go in on station, they feel like they belong. Do you know what I mean? They feel confident. And that's a massive thing that not everybody has. Again, confidence isn't built into everybody as a kid. You might have had yours smashed out of you by a, violent relationship or by someone that bullied you in the workplace when you were in the last place you worked. You know what I mean? I think it's really important that we don't have these as assumed character traits of people. It's our job to help build them within people.
No, I think you're right. Yeah. And I think, again, that's one of the advantages of the challenges that we find is that within the brigade, I still think you can come quite insular within your watch, within your
Definitely.
department. And we look at something like this competition, like for ours, at the event, we had HR doing the front desk, we had myself, lots of different departments. But definitely with the British one, we found as well, because we were kind of getting people from retained who may not generally get to meet a lot of people from whole time. And I think that massively helps develop relationships as well. Because that's what it's about. It's just trying to get people to know people.
You're right. And like
Next
for
one.
yourself, Dan, like you obviously had the confidence to just put your hand up and go, yeah, I'm up for that crack. But if you're on a station where the culture may not encourage people to do things like this, we take the mickey out of each other, mostly in jest, mostly in kindness. But if you can't see a role model across the watch table, you're at a massive disadvantage if there's not already someone there that's gone first and that you can maybe ask the questions of and learn from. So, I mean, what advice would you have for someone that's listening to this, driving into their station, but they're like, everyone on my station's in the like late 40s, 50s, like all they do is spend all their day moaning about the latest policy. And if I put my hand up and say I'm going to go and do this British or I'm going to go and do this Northeast Challenge, like they'll laugh me out the room, and then they'll be taking photos and screenshots of me on the YouTube video. Like that's where something like this, a local challenge, really comes into its own to like lower that friction, doesn't it?
I think the place to really start off with is it's group PT on watch. I think it's massively important. You look at different watches, you'll always see a tight-knit watch when they do group physical activity together, because it's, like you say, it's not all policies and procedures. It's relaxed. You can have a laugh. You're releasing the endorphins. You make yourself feel better. And what would be wrong about that? You get like the negative person on the shift coming to the gym, all of a sudden the negativity goes because they haven't got the breath to carry on talking.
I love it. I love it. I always drag them into deep water. Just drag them into deep water. And like we just do like minute on, minute off, or we do 2-minute stuff. Because I always say a lot of firefighting, as you said yourself, Ben, it's like interval training, basically. It's a bit of intensity, walking to the next thing to do something else. Then it's a bit more intensity. It's high intensity interval training, ultimately. So that's what we try and build a lot of our stuff around. Functional with slam balls and battle ropes, and then a minute on the runner, and then a minute on the rower, and then you're just circling around stuff. And that is so incredibly different sort of training for anyone that's even if they're fit. Like we said at the beginning, Ben, like depends what your metric is.
Mhm.
There's people on my station, that run marathons. I couldn't keep anywhere near them after probably 9 miles. But then when you do that little bit of intensity stuff, then the wheels start to come off.
They're not training for it. It's
Mhm.
yeah.
They're not training for it. No, and they're still very fit people. Like my metric of fitness used to be, I could deadlift 300 kilos. Completely irrelevant for the job. Completely irrelevant. That's why I got bulging discs and prolapse discs and ruined things. But if that was only my
Nasty.
ever metric of fitness, then I'd have just become the fat guy on the watch that goes, oh yeah, I used to be big and strong once. And I'm like, yeah, well, why are you not now? What's your woe is me story about why you didn't have the humility to transition into a different chapter of life? Because I think this is a really important point as well, Ben, around like women, especially, and menopause and different chapters of life and the body changing, men's testosterone dropping in their mid to late 30s. It's important for us to stay curious around how our bodies change and what we need to do to adapt for it, for that longevity in the job, isn't it?
No, 100%. And I think that's why it's important to educate people. As you said, we're kind of presuming that everyone knows this, but probably a lot don't. And again, is you can get to the point where people go, well, it's not working for me. What I've done is not working anymore, and thus I'm just going to stop doing it. Well, we know that the quickest way to lose your results is just to stop completely.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that understanding, and what I like again about the challenge in relation to this, I think the age has just increased. They've changed again for now 60 plus.
Mate, it's going to keep going.
Yeah, and this is
It's
what we're
going to
saying.
keep going.
It's that encouragement that you can point to people and kind of go, actually, you can do it. Now, I'm sure these people are training differently now than they were back in the day. And that's saying if you don't give up, if you kind of look, all right, what do I need to change? And you've got that support in making the changes, that you can continue to do that. But
we are calculating on the fly now with our pensions, I think. And there's a whole boring bit I could segue into about like child birth rate decline and how there's going to be less people in the working space in 30 years. So our pensions, because like me and Dan aren't technically really paying into our pension. We're paying into the pensions of people that are drawing them now, and ours are going to be supported by the people in 30 years' time. But as birth rates decline, there's going to be less people in the working age. So we're going to have to contribute more to our pensions, and they'll have to push our pensions back because also people are living a lot longer than we ever planned them to. It was sounding pessimistic. The people that design these things are expecting you to do another 5 to 10 years after you retire, and then hopefully you'll move on to somewhere else. But now you could retire, at 60, and you might live another 30 years. And they're like, well, Jesus, we didn't factor for that one. So it's tough. And I look at people like Alan, the rare wizards of the world who are still out there on the challenge circuit. Alan Smith how was Alan nowadays? Was he 64, 65?
I'm sure it was 65. That man is just in a different machine.
But that's not by accident. Do you know what I mean? And this is what people go, oh, well, you're just lucky. And I'm like, genetics load the gun, but environment and habits pull the trigger. Do you know what I mean? Those things, like, he'll know he only trains like 2 or 3 times a week. That's not because he's not dedicated. That's because he knows his body can't do any more than that to stay at his optimum dose. Even for a 20-year-old, the poison's in the dose. I used to be training twice a day, every day. I can't do that now. Not because I'm not dedicated enough, because my body just breaks. I just damage stuff. It doesn't recover. I can take all the bloody protein and creatine and everything else I want. There's only so much my body's going to be able to perform to. And it's always a trick when you're in your 20s, because you can eat whatever you like, do whatever you like, and still do a half marathon on the weekend. But like, how have you started to adapt for this yourself, Dan? Because how old are you now? 40?
44 coming up. And
44 years young.
Yeah, it's come to the realisation of, if I'm going to do some phys, don't expect there to be no pain the next day. That's just come to the realisation. I'm not 20 anymore.
It is beyond a privilege to be able to bring the Firefighters podcast to you, and we are so grateful for every single person that supports, listens, shares, and follows our journey. But here's the honest truth. It takes a colossal amount of time and work to keep the podcast going. And to help us keep doing it, create more, reach more guests internationally, and make the podcast sustainable, we're asking for you to help. And to do this, we've set up a Patreon page. Now, if you've ever wanted to meet a member of the podcast, buy us a beer, buy us a coffee, and you think anything you've ever listened to on the podcast has been worth £3, that's basically what we're asking you for. By joining our Patreon community, you will get access to every single full episode archive we have ever made. Now, hundreds and hundreds of key documents that we've got in there on fire behavior, firefighter health, cancer risks, instant debriefs, and so much more. So if you feel like you want to join the Patreon crew and help us make this possible, head to patreon.com/TFFPC or check the link in any episode podcast notes.
If I'm going to go silly boy in the gym, it's going to hurt. It's more structured training. It's more looking at my diet more seriously. Like I say, in my 20s, I could have ate absolutely whatever I wanted, not put anything on, still perform really well at whatever I was doing. Nutrition's a massive thing, absolutely massive. And it pains me a bit to say that in my 40s, I'm only really properly understanding that now, because the weight just doesn't just drop off when I look at the gym. It takes a couple of weeks of being sensible.
Do you think we do enough around that, Ben, in terms of good sleep habits, good nutrition habits, alcohol awareness? Do you know what I mean? When do we start overstepping the line into people's personal lives in terms of genuine good advice for them as a human being, whether they choose to remain part of the fire and rescue service or whether they choose to go on to something else? When does an obligation become a none of your business, Ben? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we've got certain standards, haven't we, that need to be met for safety. But beyond that, I use the word informed autonomy quite a lot. In other words, we need to give people the information to make their own decisions based on the consequences. So for me, trying to educate people so when they come in the brigade around nutrition, diet, that type of thing, it's kind of going, look, this is what we know. This is what the science tells us around diet and nutrition. This is how I can support you in making the decisions. These are the potential outcomes if you do and don't do them. But then you've got to leave it to that individual to make the decision, because that's the only way it's going to be positive and permanent. If we force someone to do it, it will get a result. Someone fails the fitness test. One of the factors may be body composition. We adjust that body composition, the pass, because that's an internal thing. It's not likely to have a long-term benefit. But if we can give them the information, these are the benefits of doing it, show them how to do it. And I think that's, for me, it's you've got to allow people to make their own decisions. That's where possibly when it's going too far, when you start making those decisions for them. I will say, though, Dan's main breakthrough was learning that you shouldn't go out on the beers the night before a competition. I think that's...
It's a lesson that can only be learned. You cannot teach that. It is one of those, you've got to live it yourself. So Dan, we've been flirting with talking about what's actually in the course, and you've given a couple of examples to try and dissipate any fear that people might have and they're unsure of what it really looks like and they've never been. Can you give us a step-by-step breakdown of exactly what this challenge presents in terms of the course itself?
Yeah, so like I was saying before, we've basically designed it to tell a story of what you would kind of do possibly at a house fire. So good for the spectators to see what we do. Firefighters should be known what these things are, what we do. So we start off with a 70mm hose drag out 50 meters. That's where pushing our covering jet out. That's that there ready. Not charged, then we put the second part in, which was the hose, 70mm hose makeup, like the donut roll. Now we've tied that into telling the wider public we don't always put things in the right place. We need to reposition. Maybe there's a dangerous occurrence happen, so we need to make stuff up and move position.
Well, you've just recognised the wind direction is a different place, so you know you're going to do an attack from the rear or whatever. Yeah.
So that was justifying that part. Then obviously it's the hose reel run out. That's our hose reel jet that we're going to run into the property. We're going to turn around. We're going to pull another 10 meters off the drum. That's allowing us enough hose to get through and search the property. We then have the container carry, which is 4 containers, 2 at a time, 10 meters. That's just equipment towards the incident.
How heavy are they?
They are 25 kilos each.
Yeah.
Nice.
25. So doable, but once you've got to this point, they're quite heavy, and when your legs are starting getting tired, when you're
Starting to blow at this point,
running,
easy, yeah.
you start to feel that lactic acid a little bit.
It's the shape of them as well, isn't it? Like they're quite
Yeah.
long, and the
Yeah.
water's moving, so it's harder than carrying a dumbbell.
Sloshing around it.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and we've heard people who do high rocks and CrossFit given that there's this little
I've never heard of high rocks. What's that?
It's a quiet movement, yeah.
Yeah.
After the container carry, it's the force entry machine, telling the public, we have to force entry into buildings. The big thing, it's a brilliant visual aid for the challenges. From that point, we brought in the confined space crawl, which everyone loved. I think it's the first one in the UK that's
It
been
is.
done. It's a different. It's a
Very familiar to the TFA. So if anyone's seen the Toughest
Yeah.
Firefighter Alive, they have
Yeah,
that
that's-
in all of the ones internationally, but first one in the UK, which is epic.
So that'll be a bucket list one. I saw a couple of the lads and lasses doing that last year, the Germany, and that's on my list to do from there. So from the confined space crawl, which is 10
Just
meters
elaborate
tall.
a bit more. Sorry, because we say confined space. That might be buzzword bingo to people. What are they actually doing?
So they're crawling through a space, which is a cage, but that's simulating, if we've had a partial building collapse and crews are having to make their way through to find that casualty, that's what that was put in there for. I kind of snuck that in there myself as a competitor, trying to slow down the big boys, but that didn't work for Matt Adams, so it failed for me. But yeah, it's another good sort of addition to the.
So just so people, you can achieve this on your knees. You're not crawling on your tummy.
No, yeah, it's all fours that you'll get through that fine.
Yeah, magic. So how long's that?
10 meters in total, so 5 meters, and then you'll go up and back through it.
Nice. Okay, so we've got that in there. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, then we had a hall platform constructed, which was a very short time frame. We managed to get that done. The sponsor on that we'll talk about in a bit, but brilliant. Single story. We were thinking at first, is single story enough? Do we want a double hall? Once we've run the course a few times, we realised a single story after doing everything else that you've done is more than sufficient. The website still shows a double hall, but we ended up changing it to a single hall. From there, it's back down the stairs, and then it's the casualty drag to the 50 meters. The way we put that across in the banners to the community is showing basically that casualty drag. We know that we always work in pairs in a BA team. This casualty drag is basically simulating us dragging out teammate out of an incident that have become injured.
How heavy is the casualty?
75 kilos, which, let's be honest, how many people in the UK now are 75 kilo and under? It's not a big weight, really.
It's better than them bloody 50 ones that I see people messing about with. I just think they're embarrassing, and we should not allow people to train with them in the UK Fire and Rescue Service. We go, but what about, we need to train to rescue kids. If you can rescue a big one, you rescue a small one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at the statistics, most of the people that get stuck in these fires, and this is a fire fit thing, which I'm not going to bore us with now, Ben, but it is a topic that frustrates me. Like you say, Dan, people that get stuck and die in fires are not fit, healthy young adults in general. They are people that are struggling with life. They're socioeconomically challenged. They may have mobility issues. They may be bedbound. They may have medical issues. They're likely to be overweight. There's a reason they didn't get out to start with. And 75 kilos is weighs at 6.9 kilos to a stone. So that's 10, 11 stone. How heavy are you, Dan?
I am 14.10 at the moment, so carrying a bit over.
10. And for someone that's 5'1", that's pretty heavy. No, sorry.
5'9.5".
5'9.5", sorry. But no, yeah, I'm 18.5 stone. You know what I mean? I wouldn't consider myself unfit. Most people will generally say I'm a fit-ish person, generally. 75 kilos is the bare minimum. Everybody should be able to achieve that. And I know the argument, Ben, is that people go, but we work in pairs, so the weight is just... No. If you go in, what's BA1 doing, Dan? In a job?
Oh, BA1's leading the way in. if they're
Hose
going
reel,
down,
tick, doing that. When we find a casualty, one of us is taking the hose reel and the tick and everything else. We are not rarely are we taking that casualty together. Maybe if they're really heavy, but if it's a 75 kilos, we're expecting you to do it on your own. So I absolutely agree with what you're doing.
We maybe have to bring our teammate out. It's not unknown that people go down in jobs. They could have had, I'm full of cold at the minute. I could go into a job, become overcome with the heat. I'm expecting them to be able to carry me out 14 or 10. And that's
I always say, like, if you can rescue the public, that's great. But if we don't get them, everyone will still clap for us. If you don't get me out, my missus and my daughter are going to be really upset.
Yeah.
Really upset. And I'm 18 stone and I'm got a BA set and PAPE on. Yeah. I want you to get me out. That is an expectation in policy. But we don't tell people that are over 75 kilos they can't join the fire service, do we? So the math doesn't always math for me. But anyway, casualty finish. Is it a 50 meter 25 turn?
No,
or is it a
50 meter run all the way to the end?
Straight bang. Over the line, tier medals.
Absolutely.
The fun version of the casualty drag, the 50 meter straight.
Yeah. Oh, mate, the smokes the quads. I love it. There's such a technique in it. I mean, as obvious as it sounds, there's a technique in everything. But it's the same as going quickly downstairs. Moving quickly backwards with a casualty is a skill set you've got to train for. Is a lot harder than you think it is. So like you said there, Dan, there's people that support this. There's sponsors. There's people that built the frame and built this out. Who do we need to give a shout out for? Because there's lots and lots of people that make this possible, both companies and individuals in the service. So who do we need to shout out?
So for that whole platform, which we got fabricated and constructed within, was it a 2.5 month time frame, which was absolutely phenomenal. Steel River Fabrication, small local company, but absolutely pulled out a bag for us, created CAD models, showed us how to create this, put it up before the challenge, bring it back down, massively supportive, did us a fantastic deal. Just what we like to see, sort of supporting local companies supporting us as a charitable organisation. Absolutely fantastic job. So yeah, special shout out all the other companies that supported our challenge, from Gym Gear, who allowed us our warm-up tent, all the equipment, fantastic. William Wood Watches give us our winners.
Johnny Garrett, good man.
Absolutely fantastic. MSJ, Hicks, another local company, TT Industrial, generously donated money, which helped towards everything getting purchased. Sunbelt Rentals, which helped us with a lot of the logistical things like safety,
Barriers and that.
the safety barriers and things. And the last local company, GW Leader, which allowed us to help build a lot of our equipment from the wood that they provided. Fantastic by them all.
A lot of companies talk about supporting first responders. And I think that's why it's so important that when people actually do step up, put the money where the mouth is, that it's really important that we shout them out, because, everyone thinks we should have police officers, ambulance, firefighters, but it's very much an assumption in the UK, and a lot of companies do actually want to help. And it's really important that we celebrate those that actually step up and do the thing, because without them, a lot of this wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. Because you mentioned earlier, how do we get buy-in from the brigade and that? And for example, Steel River, when they do the drawings and explain the health and safety and all that, it makes getting stuff like that through a lot easier. So we can look at, what are the benefits to the brigade? How's this going to be done? So straight away, you're kind of getting rid of
sort of credibility,
barriers, yeah. So
who's going to make that? And you go, Steve off Blue Watch. No.
Yeah.
No.
No, that's Steve, no.
Nice. So for people that are interested in learning a bit more about it, where's the best place for them to go? Give us an idea of the dates. When is it running this year? Would there be a chance for people to sign up? Has all the sign-ups gone? How can people come and support and sort of celebrate the athletes as well?
So I think at the moment, definitely the Northeast Firefighter website, Northeast Firefighter Challenge, if you Google that, it should come up, would be the place to go. It's definitely going to be in May, isn't it? Approximate date we're working on at present. So we'll kind of let you know there, but all the information's on the website. So we're going to open registration as soon as we've confirmed the definite date, and go from there.
Fellas, really, really appreciate your time today. Massive supporter of the challenge community. I love what you guys are doing. I love what this sector stands for, both the values, the professionalism, the inclusivity of all of the families and all the different competitors. I think it's a hugely net positive thing for the UK, and I'm really, really excited to be invited to participate in a lot of these challenges across the UK. So, similar to the family, and I will catch up with you both soon.
See you soon.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers, mate.
Well, that's it for today, folks. Hope you took a lot away from that episode. We started the Firefighters podcast to develop, inspire, connect, motivate, represent, and most importantly, celebrate the world of incredible emergency services operators and the wider sector through this series of wide-ranging conversations. We really love creating this podcast and bringing it to so many people. Did you know you can also find these on YouTube? We do a lot of video podcasts now. You can head over to our YouTube page and follow, subscribe there. And as a final ask from us, whatever platform you're on, please rate the podcast. It really helps us as a key performance indicator to reach more and more people. I've been your host, Pete Wakefield. This has been the Firefighters Podcast. And wherever you are in the world, please stay safe, be happy, live with intention, and where possible, please remember and support your firefighters and first responders. I'll see you next time.